Hello, my friends. This is Tobin. Once again, we finally have concrete things to talk about with MetaZoo. They released some artwork, some more artwork, and some more artwork, and that includes two new cards and the box art. Do we really have the box art leaked? That's incredible. And it's finally we're able to talk about it. I mean, March 28th is just right around the corner, so it's about time we got something to talk about, right? Well, there's a new dynamic that was released. They had a new art card that was Lava Bear. And Lava Bear talked about two things that I think was really important when they released and had a little blurb about what's going on. Lava Bear can destroy Terras, and that tells you that Terras are back. Terra was a big thing. I did a video a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week or two ago, depending on how long you've seen this video. But we talked about things that we take out of MetaZoo and it won't be MetaZoo anymore. And Terras was one of them, I'm pretty sure. So Terras are staying with MetaZoo, and that's great news because that is something that's unique to MetaZoo. MetaZoo and MetaZoo are not that far apart, so that's incredible to think about. And another thing that it had said, gave a little bit of a tidbit on a spoiler, maybe some insight on how the gameplay is going to go. It talked about lanes. It said that there's going to be lanes in the game, right? So what does lanes mean? Well, there's a lot of TCGs that touch about lanes. Touch about. That's not the proper way to say that, but they use lanes for gameplay. And how does that work? So there's lanes that are, these are where the traps, these are blah blah blah, these are the cards, these are blah blah blah. MetaZoo kind of had lanes before, but it was a little bit complicated. They had Spirit that could only fight Spirit. They had Flying that could only fight Flying, or they can fight Ground. They had Ground, and Ground could attack Ground. They had Underground, which is Burrowed, and Burrowed couldn't be attacked by things that were on the ground, sky, or Spirit. So they did have lanes. So it's not that different from MetaZoo. It's just spelled out a little bit more precisely. So I know a lot of people heard about lanes, and it's about a lot of people who don't play games a TCG who are talking about they don't like lanes because they don't know what they're talking about. Lanes have been in MetaZoo, but it hasn't been specifically stated as a lane. So that is incredible to think about that. A part of the gameplay is sticking and it's coming out a little bit more defined. So I really like that. And the last thing we need to talk about, the biggest thing we're talking about, the thing that everyone's talking about is the booster box art. The booster box art features a bunch of beasties, right? It has a new form of the Piazza bird, and I'm loving it. I felt the old Piazza bird was like a fluffy dragon, and it kind of looked a little bit too much like Charizard. I'll say it. It looked a little bit too much like Charizard. This one looks a little bit like Charizard in the coloring and a little pointed wings, but it has its own new design that actually looks like the Piazza is supposed to look like, at least in lore, but it also looks a little kicked up a little bit, if you know what I mean. It looks pretty cool. And then there's the Mothman. I mean, the Mothman, you can't go wrong with the Mothman. Mothman's looking great on the cover. And then you have the, looks like the Monkey King, right? Monkey King from Wukong or Journey to the West or a lot of mythology. If you got to look that up if you haven't heard about that. But if you really know about him, you know that Goku, Goku from Dragon Ball Z is based off of that character. So that is really exciting to me because they could just do a whole TCG just about that character, right? But he's just one portion that's on the cover of the box art, so you know he's going to be important. And then there's another character who's a little controversial. They changed the design of the Bigfoot. I'll be honest with you, CN Bigfoot, not a big fan. Um, the Wilderness Bigfoot, they increased it a little bit, but it didn't really have the flavor of a Bigfoot. It didn't really grasp what Bigfoot, at least what most people think about, especially what I think about. When you look at Bigfoot, you think about a fluffy, fluffy, furry, scruffy face, and you look at his face and you can see a well-defined Neanderthal-like face, but it's covered in fur. This one doesn't quite capture it either, I'll be honest with you. But it's a different design, and that leads you to think that maybe they have some room for designing a different one for the next set. So I think out of the four that are on there, three pretty much knock it out of the park. So I want to hear what you think. Is that Bigfoot as bad as most people say? Or can we kind of give it a little time and see how it works? What do you think about all this news? The lanes, the gameplay is a little bit different, a little bit the same. We're talking about Terras, they're back, and now we have finally a box art. I mean, the box art is not confirmed, but it looks like some pre-orders are going through with its distribution in Italy. So we got three things to talk about. It's a good day to be a zoo fan, and I hope y'all be nice to each other. And thank you for watching. Peace.